Hi guys, and welcome back to another Sketchbook Doodles video. So similar to last time's Sketchbook Doodle video, I am doing another late night painting session, I guess. But this time I decided to return back to gouache just because I feel like the last time I did gouache in my sketchbook still had enough of a gap, but I might be really rusty. So I'm trying my best to keep up with learning the method of how to use gouache, even if it's just in my sketchbook. So I decided to return back to gouache and do a little bit of music video scenes. So today I'm doing music video scenes from Hitori Janai, which is from 17, and that's one of their Japanese single albums, I believe. So yeah, so the first person I'm drawing is Jonghan, and yeah, it's kind of, this one's kind of more like a practice, or like my warm-up, I guess, because I struggled with this one a lot more than the one I did of June, which you guys are going to see a little bit down below. So this video just kind of has two different little painting sessions, but I decided to do kind of like a full spread. So I did Jonghan, and then June will be below this one. And then on the right side, I had Dogyam and Dino, which I did on a stream on Twitch. So if you would like to see the process for that, you guys can go to Twitch and hopefully look it up. And yeah, you can see me paint more in real time, unlike this kind of speed paint version. I tried my best to not speed up the footage too much. So I think it's like, this is 4 times speed, and then later on it's going to be like 8 times speed. Just because it's easier to watch if it's faster, but also I didn't want it to go super fast. So just a disclaimer that this is all sped up, so there is no real-time footage because I cannot sketch and paint this fast. So let's talk about process for a little bit. Like in my other painting videos, I tend to start with the palette Color ENO for any kind of rough sketching because it will help me figure out things like where they should go, as well as a lot of water and any kind of wet material or medium will help kind of dissolve this pencil, as well as most of the paint will cover it up anyway, so I'm not too particular. But because it is water soluble, I do erase it for the most part and then go back in with a normal mechanical pencil and do some clean lines, because I know these lines will not dissolve, and then I can rely on them as I'm placing down the majority of the colors before I start doing any like line art and stuff. So it just helps me make sure I'm laying paint down in the right places. So I think when I started doing the painting portion for Jonghan, at least for the watercoloring portion, it turned out pretty okay. I didn't make his sweater or the background as warm as it should have been compared to his skin tone and his hair. I kind of screwed up, and when I was doing the gouache painting portion, I made Jonghan a little bit too like sunburnt looking, especially on the one side of his face, and I think it's because I should have laid down the skin tone first before adding his hair color, because I was trying to match it up to the intensity, and maybe I should have pulled back his hair to be more of a cooler red rather than such a warm red, which I guess I tried correcting here by adding a little bit of the cooler red and a bit of the purple. So I'm putting down watercolor first just as kind of like a base, and it kind of helps me almost like prime the paper for gouache. So I'm doing kind of like fin washes, just establishing color, a little bit of shadow, and this kind of helps also hide any white spaces that might show up if I'm usually doing any roughs with the gouache. But the way how I treat gouache is kind of more like the finishing touches, so I try my best to make sure most of the areas are done with a flat pass, I guess. Flat pass instead of making super transparent layers and treating it similar to watercolor. So his face does get a little bit patchy, so I think the reason why I kind of treat this as a warm-up too is I'm reactivating a lot of the paint in my palette, and some of it was like the white paint and the skin tones that I already previously mixed. So I don't know where exactly I left off. I'm pretty sure the phone call has interrupted this voiceover, but that's okay. But yeah, I treated this one of Jonghan a bit more like a warm-up and a bit of a test run, because it kind of told me that yeah, I was getting rusty with gouache again. Like, I wasn't getting the right consistency, and I had a much easier time painting June after fiddling around and messing around with Jonghan's piece. So yeah, at least like it's not the worst one that I've done, so I'm okay not like, you know, like covering it up or anything. So I'm just gonna leave it. It's this one, like, it's just mostly the skin that I'm not pleased with. He does have a weird, like, this looks too orangey and a little patchy, so it's not my favorite. June turned out a lot cuter, like not only his eyes, but like his hair and the sweater just turned out really nicely versus the one of Jonghan. Even though the one of Jonghan was the one I really wanted to paint. I was just gonna go through the music video, like not frame by frame, but like between each member and see what scenes that I really liked. And I think Jonghan and June were first anyway, so I decided to paint them. I was gonna be a little bit more ambitious and do one of Wonu, and I don't know. The reason why I say it's a little bit more ambitious is because the lighting on him is kind of like, I don't remember if it correctly, but if it's either like on his left side it's like normal lighting, but on the right side it's more of a greenish blue lighting. So maybe I'll revisit that, or maybe I'll just do it digitally. It'll be a good, like, it'll be good practice if anything. So for Jonghan, I feel like I went straight into doing line art because I thought it'd help fix how this one was looking, and I decided to take a break and kind of do the clothing first and a little bit of the background so that I could take a break from, for me, feeling like I'm continually butchering his face. So I'm just basically taking a lot of the neutral colors that I mixed that are a little bit warmer, adding a little bit of cool tones, a little bit more warmer tones, and kind of mixing them together. I mentioned this like a whole lot. I love painting anything that has more like neutral colors because I get to play around with the warm and the cools. And yeah, these beiges are fun to paint. So as you can see on his arm and like his sweater, there's a little bit of like purpley blues, but there's like a lot of like orangey yellows in there. So it's kind of fun to mess around. But for like the most part, they act as grays. So like they're not outrageously colored, I guess. I think like for the most part, he still turned out kind of cute. I don't like how I did his lips either. I think it's because I laid down the color for his lips, and then instead of mixing a lighter color to blend, I just diluted my brush and like wetted it, which kind of made it weirdly dull, and like it lifted up the paint instead. So yeah, it's just like a lot of trial and error with working with gouache for me. But like I said, the one for June turned out pretty cute, so I'm at least happy with that. I had fun working on Twitch and doing some casual painting. So for that I did Dogyam, and Dogyam turned out pretty cute. I was really excited to paint his color of his hair, which is kind of like a grayish purple with a little bit of like almost like green undertone. It's like the way how I painted it looks similar to June's color for his hair, but I was definitely aiming for a difference between their hair color because there is a difference, but I don't think I achieved that. And then the last one I did was Abdino. I don't think I finished him, but I decided to rip off the tape and move on. I finished painting, I believe, his hair and his face and a little bit of his outfit, but I didn't finish like painting or doing any detailing for his like background, and I did very minimal coloring for his clothes, so it's just mostly his face that was finished. But I think it's good to just move on, I guess. I don't want to keep my sketchbook in this weird state where it's kind of left open to dry, but also I have all this tape sticking out of it. I kind of want to just flip the page and move on. Okay, so I'm doing some finishing touches for Jonghan. I'm adding a little bit of warmer tones to his sweater. And then as you can see, I'm going to rip off the tape for 3 sides. For some strange reason, this washi tape decided to rip up the paper a bit, which I've never had, especially with the smooth paper with washi tape. Like, it usually never peels up the paper, so I'm just wondering if this washi tape is just extra sticky for some reason. But yeah, so I'm using the same bottom washi tape for the top of June's. And as you can see, I already did the sketch for June off camera just to make sure I have the angle correct. And then I'm going in with a little bit more detail, but also making it a little bit cleaner with a normal mechanical pencil. and I have June kind of like at this tilted angle. And I actually really like how I did the background for June's. It was vague enough that like the shapes were not sharp in any way, but also they were kind of like pushed to the back. So like June really pops forward because there is literally no focus for the back of his background and everything. Yeah, so right here I'm doing kind of like the bookshelf, or like the thing that he has, like I think it's a bookshelf, I don't really remember, and I think there's a poster behind him as well. So I did that very vaguely. And then the color of his hair is so pretty. I think I did an okay job painting his hair. I'll let you guys know what part I got disappointed about, but for the most part, like even if I left this piece with just watercolor and maybe just went over with a little bit of ink, I would have been fine with it because it looks kind of cute so far. And I think the gouache did help it quite a bit, but I think it's because I also had a good base with the watercolor. Like it was just easier for me to understand where I had to place all the darker tones, all the lighter tones, and then making sure that things were clean. And I mixed up good colors this time, unlike the one for Jonghan. I'm a very lazy painter, so usually I only paint with like 1 cup of water per piece, which it can get bad because the muddier your piece, like your water gets, sometimes you can get some really muddy colors because the water is mixing in with your pure colors that might be on the lighter side, so you don't get really clean colors. But I think for the most part, because June's skin tone was on kind of like the orangey and beige side, when I moved the purple into blue, it wasn't hard for me to keep everything fairly dark and a little bit of like a little muddy and muted. For the most part, I really like how June's came out, especially like even the clothing looks pretty okay. I'm not fond of that giant shape I did at the bottom with the white, like the whitish purple color. I think I should have just omitted that and just left the other ones as is. So his hair turned out pretty okay. So as soon as I'm working towards the left side is where I'm getting a little bit more sad that I didn't leave space or go back in to do a lighter color, because I like the contrast with how his left side of his face had more light compared to the right side. But here, because of how I have painted the base color, it kind of evened it out, which made less contrast. I think like visually it looks fine, but like I think it would have looked better with more contrast if I had the light hitting a little bit stronger on the left side. But his hair was fun to paint. And I'm just deepening up and doing quick line art for his sweater. And this kind of helps push back any of those deeper areas, but also helping make things look a little bit cleaner because I can do some of the line art and make his, like him as the figure, pop out more. Now I'm being mindful of the time this time, because last time I accidentally rambled all the way up until the end because I wasn't looking at how much time I had left. So hopefully I won't stop in the middle of a sentence and say bye. But I'm just doing the last finishing touches of doing the line art, and I think my most favorite part will be after I add in another kind of like poster behind his right shoulder technically, and I'll add more, like I'll kind of bring out the colors from that poster into the June piece. Oh, his eyes look actually really nice. I think they just look clear, like unlike some other ones that I've done in the past where the eyes seem this very dark. His seem very clear, which is really nice. So I'm just finishing up doing the line work for June's hair, and then after that I noticed that I didn't add any other colors to June's hair, so I'll add the yellow that I used from the poster, and that will help kind of make it more fun. Right now it looks really clean, but adding other color kind of adds more fun, a little bit more, I don't know, the pops of color, especially like between the purple and the yellow, look really nice. But I feel like the yellow is intense enough that it looks nice next to his kind of like turquoise hair. So I'm adding it a little bit into his highlights, and then I'm adding it a little bit to his hoodie. And I think it just looks more fun this way. I have no other way to explain it other than I think it looks fun. But The bookcase on the left side looks really nice with the contrast of June kind of like popping forward. So to me it looks really nice. I am just removing the binder clip. I'm going to remove the tape. And then I think that's it for this painting session. Hope you guys enjoyed watching another Sketchbook Doodles video and another rambly voiceover. Yeah, hopefully I'll do another session of either sketching or painting in the sketchbook. I've been trying my best to work in the sketchbook a little bit more, and I've been having more fun, so hopefully I can record another session sometime soon. Maybe I'll take a break next week, we'll see. But yeah, slow peeling. I did rip the paper a little bit, but that's okay. Look at him. Clean edges, always nice, even though the gouache cracking everywhere is a bit of a pain. But I feel like the clean edges were necessary for these ones anyways, especially for like music video scenes. I feel like they fit a little bit nicely. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and yeah, thank you guys for coming to the stream as well. Hopefully more in the future, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!